G'day viewers, today I'm making a video for EDV3100 ICTs and Pedagogy. This is all new to me, and in this course there's been a whole lot of new stuff for me, and I'm not a movie star, I'm not a cameraman, I'm not an editor, but today I'm flying solo, having a go at it all myself, and we'll see how it goes. Hope you enjoy it. Alrighty, a bit about who I am and what I do. I teach metal fabrication apprentices inside a technical and further education institute, or a TAFE college. I've been doing this for about 9 years, and my current quals are a Diploma in Vocational Education and Training, a Diploma in Training Design Development, the Certificate for Training Assessment. I'm a trade qualified boilermaker or metal fabricator with about 20 years experience on the tools in workshops. I've furthered my trade qualifications to Certificate for Engineering. I've also got welder certification as well. I not only work at TAFE, I also subcontract as a welder and a fabricator outside of my time here. So throughout the time that I've been teaching for 9.5 years, I've still kept my hand in the trade, so I can bring that back into my teaching environment. Who do I teach? Most of my teaching is to metal fabrication apprentices. All my students are full-time employed workers, and they're released from live work to attend formal training. Now these guys are paid to be here, they're paid to train, so every bit of time that we spend on subject matter is critical, because at the bottom line there's a bottom line to what we do, and we've got to make sure that we get it right. The things that a boilermaker does, or a metal fabricator does, we make everything that you see in the world that's made out of steel. So the high-rise building that you might work in, the framework that holds that up, one of my apprentices might have welded that up, or he might have fabricated it. Okay, some of the other things we do, we've got some examples here. We make transition pieces. We develop out these shapes using geometric development. Pieces like this that you might find in oil refineries or in pulp mills to make the paper that you write on, they're all made by fabricators. If you like to put fuel in your car, chances are the fuel's gone through an oil refinery, and all of the pipe work that makes that raw crude oil into fuel would go through equipment that a boilermaker or fabricator has worked on. Alright, step sideways a little bit and have a look at what happens with ICTs in my teaching context. Most of my students are what I would class as ICT skill poor. They're a bit like me. During the course of their studies, when they follow the national training packages, there's mandatory subjects which cover the interaction with computers, and for a lot of the guys this is the only interaction that they get with a normal PC. The training package is our curriculum, so that's what we have to work on to get our training outcomes. Alright. As far as interaction with computers on the job is concerned, it's very limited, particularly in the area where I work. We're typically a service industry as opposed to a manufacturing industry. A lot of the local companies out here contract to service mining equipment, therefore they're not doing a lot of manufacturing. If you put it into context, the big manufacturers in Australia are very much automated, but that doesn't happen here. And the automation comes via computer control equipment, and it's just way too expensive for us to have that as a registered training organisation. But what we can do is, and I've got an example of it here, is this thing here is a CNC controller. It's made by a company called Haas. They make machining centres, lathes and the likes. This is the controller that the machine actually uses, but Haas have an interface where we can actually pull the controller off the machine and have stations like this, which are essentially a simulator. So as far as integration of ICTs from the workplace into the classroom, this is as close as we get here. We've also got things like the students can program. They can run a program, create the G code. They can run a program on the screen. We can have an outcome of a machined part or the likes, and it will operate as the machine. It'll run through the machining process and tell them if they've got any failures or collisions or things like that. We've got that, and we've also got some CNC profile cutting equipment. It's just far too expensive to have the newest, the latest, the greatest inside a training facility. These machines, when they go into industry, they have to be working 100% of the time. Otherwise, the owner of the machine or the leaser of the machine just can't make payments or pay for the machine itself. Alright. That said, even though the interaction with ICTs in a traditional form is limited, I've found that my student base is extremely connected in the form of ICTs through things like smartphones and Android devices, to the point where we struggle to keep our students off their phones, off their smartphones, off their Androids when they're in class. And the problem there is that it puts them off task. So what I intend to do is to introduce the use of tablet technology. I have one here into the classroom space, and there's a couple of reasons for doing that. The first one is that they've all got one in their pocket already. So if you look at the infrastructure involved, we've got one tick in the box immediately because they've already got their own device. I can set up a network inside my classroom with 3 or 4 tablets on a loan basis, but I believe that these guys they're going to want to use their own device, and so long as we can keep them on track, I think we're going to have a win. Just recently, another reason for introducing this technology is that just recently our workshop space, which is out to my left, and my quiet rooms and study rooms where I am now, have recently been set up with wireless networks. So we've got connectivity throughout our working space with the practical side of things, as well as in our quiet rooms. Alright. The main basis for the introduction to devices like this are specifically for the use of online mathematics tutorials and lessons, where we can actually demonstrate an application of mathematics. Throughout the process of becoming a metal fabricator, there's an awful lot of maths that has to be applied. It's a misnomer for people to think that you become a tradesman, all you need to be is good with your hands. I've got 3 units of training here in the traditional format of a workbook. We've got performed computations. It's full of Pythagoras' theorem. We get into the fabrication side of things. We've got marking off of structural shapes and fabrication. Again, another application of Pythagoras. And then when it gets into the forming, shaping and bending and shaping techniques, again, we've got Pythagoras again. And that I've just picked on one mathematical theory, and it's through multiple competencies. The problem is that a large percentage of our apprentices disengage with the learning process when they're at school, because through no fault of the school system especially, but because there's not a real life application for these mathematical theories, the student then hasn't engaged and hasn't applied the knowledge. Therefore they've lost interest and they've disengaged with the learning process, and then they've failed to actually apply the skills. Alright. So that's the initial reason for there, but I'd also like to include some research into what's actually available online. I'm sort of hoping that the students in that case will become the teacher, and they can show me a thing or two. This tablet technology is new to me. I'm not an ICT expert. I'm a tradesman who's become a teacher in that order, and for me to navigate my way around, even on a Samsung tablet, it's proved to be a learning curve. I'm attempting to integrate this into other areas of my teaching as well as just my apprentices. But I'm sort of hoping that these guys who are on their phones all the time, who navigate the internet via their phones, can give me a tip or two, and collectively we can put together a suite of not so much the only resource available to learn the content of our course or our training plan, but to enhance and support the learning that happens here. There's a whole lot of stuff here. I did a quick search this morning on trade maths calculators, and one site here has given me about 15 different applications, and there's 20 pages on each. There's 15 applications on each page, and there's 20 pages there to see. So collectively, I hope that we can pick out the most appropriate ones to our course material, and also the most appropriate ones that my apprentices can grab and they can apply, and then with the mobility of their device, they can have this sitting on their workbench out in the quiet rooms. When they do get a problem, they'll have them saved away in their favourites, bang, they can go there. But then I want them to be able to take this to their workplace, have that connectivity there through their wireless connections, and I believe that the tablet's going to become like another tool in their toolbox. I want to try and foster that information sharing culture where students will be able to search for new tools, solve problems, share it, and then share it with the teaching staff. Alright. One of the critical reasons for engaging this particular ICT is because it's in a medium that they enjoy. Excuse me, they're already connected, and if we can harness even a small percentage of that interest and keep the guys on task, I think we're going to win, because at the moment the paper-based world that we're in is in decline. If the information isn't coming to these guys on a shiny screen that's interactive, it's starting to be lost. My students are starting to struggle with a paper-based world. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, I'm yet to decide, but in all terms, I think that there's areas that we can embrace the technology, and that we can get some interaction there. Other teachers in the institute, particularly where I'm working, have started to engage in this technology. Particularly our Access 10 cohort. Access 10 is a program within the TAFE organisation that picks up the students who haven't integrated into school, who haven't been able to stay in school, whether it be for social reasons or any other reasons. The typical down and outers. Our literacy and numeracy support teachers have introduced a bank of iPads into their delivery, and they've found that by going through that ICT and getting right back into the basics of mathematics, again they're using it for maths, they've got apps there that have brought competition into the classroom in the form of being able to perform a series of calculations in a set time, and the kids are racing against each other to one, get the correct answer, but two, be the first finished. The teachers up there are using them for a lot of creative media as well, for kids that are disengaged with the paper-based world that's traditionally used, particularly within TAFE. And I'm going to get pronunciation wrong here, but Bonzo and Pashoma 2010 described their element 1 as learning with active participation. I see that to be able to be applied to my teaching environment, as well as represented by other teachers within my institute, and it's twofold. It's very much twofold. I expect to learn probably more out of the coming exercises, and particularly the next practical component of this course, by immersing myself in the tablet technology, and obviously I'm going to try and get as much out of it as what I can get the students to get out of there. The provision of practical applications of mathematics in industry via tablet technology, for example Pythagoras' theory, and how metal fabricators use that theory to do simple functions on the tools using the traditional 3-4-5 rule, which is Pythagoras' theory, to square up fabrications, to be able to find applications within the world of the tablet to reinforce that. It's amazing how many kids, how many students engage in Pythagoras' theorem once they have an application for it, and then they see that, oh, it's so simple. Why was it so hard when the teacher at high school tried to show me how to do it? And how come it was so hard then? But anyway, there's some of the things I plan to do. I'll endeavour to be the teacher and the student, and we'll see how we fare at the end of the process. Thank you.